know what the point of it is, but maybe we can do be something we can put in the agenda item. Like, what is the reason we do this?
We're live now, guys, just so you know.
Oh, we're live. Okay, great. I'll get started. Telex Council. We're meeting here today on March 18th and 19th in some countries. As a local governance organization with authority over Telex operational rules, system health, and social well-being. Overview of the Telex Council is to accept, develop, and vote on Telex IP proposals to change or introduce new elements to the Telex ecosystem, to alter Telex harvesting rules, and is responsible for generally representing the interests of and informing their constituency in matters pertaining to Telex. The Telex Council is required to plan, finance, and coordinate implementation of improvements to the Telex ecosystem, regulate the flow of TEL issuance throughout the Telex ecosystem to be harvested by liquidity miners, introduce, alter, and enforce Telex operational rules, including harvesting, communication, maintenance, and construction, vote on Telex IPs. The council must achieve 5 of 6 vote approval rate within 120 hours in order for it to be affirmed, and attend bi-weekly meetings and rotate responsibilities for hosting, recaps, etc. With this week's recap, I believe Boo's got that for us. If you have, Boo,
Thanks, Mike.
Take it away.
So we start with the V4 pools / Merkle. The Telex IP Merkle proof of concept evaluation for Telex base Teleth V4 pool forum proposal was reviewed. The proposal aims to evaluate Merkle as a potential reward calculation engine for Telex liquidity incentives Merkle by running a parallel simulation with the current distribution system for at least 4 weeks. The goal is to compare accuracy, transparency, and operational feasibility without changing rewards or distributing additional TEL. The proposal has already been submitted to Snapshot, and all 6 votes were cast in favour, with a vote set to finish on March the 10th. Afterwards, it will need to be checked and voted by the Compliance Council for final confirmation. The discussion reviewed how V2 style liquidity pools distribute rewards based on the provider's share of total liquidity within the pool. In contrast, V4 concentrated liquidity pools require positions to remain within an active trading range in order to earn fees and receive rewards. It was suggested that Merkle could streamline operations by standardizing reward calculations and automating distribution across multiple pools and providers. A tentative rollout timeline was discussed, in which the proof of concept would begin after the vote closes and compliance review is completed, followed by approximately 2 weeks of development work. Based on this schedule, the trial implementation would likely begin in April, with an evaluation of results expected in early to mid-May. On the Telex UI front, updates were also shared regarding improvements to the Telex user interface for status periods for the V2 balancer pools. On the EXYZ pools, there were no real updates as the team was in Barcelona for MWC 26 and had higher priorities at the time. For the weekly pool rewards, a big thanks was given to the team for the recent provision for the weekly Telex rewards information, which has been provided to the community on the same day that the reward scripts have been run. So we're talking Wednesdays, really. And miscellaneous, it was proposed that a generic guide be published explaining how to manually withdraw liquidity directly from a smart contract in case an asset's user interface encounters any errors. The guide will specifically include instructions on how to pull assets out of a contract when the UI fails so that users can still access their funds. They're not necessarily Telex specific, but it could be for any asset on any contract, but that was the goal. And I will yield that now back to Mike.
Thanks, Boo. Appreciate it. So for the agenda items today, we have the Uniswap V4 pools versus Merkle. And I believe we have some communication since our last meeting with Baptiste from Merkle and have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, if that's correct, to discuss the options for this Merkle pool launch in the next few weeks. If anybody has any more further details on that they would like to share, that would be fantastic. I'm not fully up to speed on that one.
I think I can probably add a couple of bits here. There is this scoping document that Leo drew up originally, and he's making some small changes to it to, I think, capture the success factors. How do we determine whether or not Merkel's a success in terms of our evaluation? He was going to do that, and he was going to publish that this week prior to the meeting. He's still working on it, I believe. The latest, he sends his apologies today as well, so he's not going to make it for the call today. And I'm not sure, to be honest, that because of the timing, I'll be able to make it tomorrow. So it would be good to kind of, before we have the meeting, kind of decide what we actually want to achieve at the meeting with Baptiste. Because I'm not sure that document will be ready. It's going to be close if it is.
Yeah.
So that's probably about the latest. So I think Andrew, because Baptiste did make a late change to the call, he wanted to shift it back half an hour, and I think that slightly conflicted with Andrew's time. So I'm not sure who from the council is actually going to be in attendance, and I'm not sure what really will be discussed if we don't have that document as the basis for it.
Yeah, it seems like maybe we need that, like, for prior to that call. We may have to push the call if Leo doesn't have that complete by tomorrow. He did mention trying to get that done ASAP, but I don't know what ASAP means. It's a little bit variable in everybody's language.
Yeah, and I think the communication from Baptiste, if you look at the earlier comments in the thread after I told him that the vote had passed successfully, which was, and I think the communication from Baptiste, the outcome from our midweek, our call last week, earlier comments in the thread after, he said, "Oh yeah, well we can start immediately," and so I think he's raring to go on development. I think we need to be clear in what our spec is, so that it doesn't, we don't get something back that we're not expecting, basically.
Yeah, right. Okay. I will be on the road tomorrow, and I may be able to tune in, but it just depends on cellular connectivity at the time of the call, if we're going to keep it at 1:30 Eastern, but I'm not sure. I guess we'll have to get more clarification on that before tomorrow.
I think part of the key objective of the call was to have almost a technical workshop to make sure Merkel and we were all on the same page in terms about what needed to be changed, how and being able to answer some technical questions. So I think it's kind of crucial that Leo representing the technical side of because I don't feel anybody else on the council's qualified to talk at the kind of contract level, which is where I hope the discussion would go.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So I think in terms of the time zone, Merkel's in Europe, so Eric and Boo and Leo, it's more aligned with your clock. Whereas,
I hope to be able to attend. Things are a little bit fluid at work at the moment, so that's why I said tentative in the channel earlier. Hopefully I'll be there to back Leo up, but yeah, if Leo couldn't make it for any reason, I think we'd need to reschedule, but let's assume Leo can make it. Work at the moment. He's got the document there. That's why I said tentative in the channel earlier. I think we'll have to play it by ear tomorrow. hopefully
I'll
I'll
Yeah.
get back
be
Leo
there,
up. But yeah,
Jai, I'll
if
also
Leo
be
couldn't
joining
make it for
tomorrow,
any
and
reason, I think
I think the
reshuffle
document
it.
that Leo
Let's
already
assume
made
Leo can make it
first
at the
instance
moment. He's got the
is,
document there. Right? I said
pretty
tentative
decent already.
in the channel earlier. Play it tomorrow.
So yeah,
Hopefully I'll
Yeah.
get back Leo.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Merkel understand fully what's required in terms of we need to track
pretty decent already.
rewards at a position level rather than a wallet address level. So I think they're clear on terms of the general, but there may be specific questions that we can answer that are more of a technical position level. I think Leo has to be there as well, yeah. But there may be specific questions that we can answer that are more of a technical position.
You know, we don't have much on the agenda. I did talk with Paul and Parker, and they're very busy. They're over in DC this week at the Blockchain Summit. I know Paul is anyway. You know, we don't have much on the agenda. Like to get together. I did talk with. Hopefully by the time we have our next call, we'll schedule a meeting in the next 2 weeks. DC this week at the Blockchain Summit. I know Paul post bank launch before the stable EXYZ stablecoin, sort of roadmap and the future, and what is required, and how we can best support that. And I think we should. That's coming around pretty quickly here. That whole EXYZ stablecoin V5 launch. So I think once we get that horse out of the barn, then we should be able to kind of transition to thinking about how the Telex Council can kind of support the broader vision of worldwide stablecoin liquidity and how to best support it. But in order to do that, we're going to have a meeting. And we'll probably just set that as a private council meeting with Paul, Parker, and any other holdings entities that might be liquidity joining that call for discussion. And then we can bring that to the details of that meet up back to the next council meeting with any luck. I think that's sort of the target.
That's great news to me. That's really good.
Yeah, and then we can bring that.
I think for us as a council, it is great news also. Kind of in a holding position, still as long as the alignment is not completely clear.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, I sense. I feel like that frustration is growing for me. I feel like these council meetings are kind of really. Yeah, we're not. I don't really feel like we're. Myself, I feel like that frustration part of the problem. I don't really feel like we're like these council meetings moving the ball down the field. I feel like we're just kind of.
No, I agree.
We're like running side to side. I don't really feel like and not really advancing. So I feel like in order to do that, we just sort of need a little bit of guidance, clarity. And then if I feel like we're just kind of Telex Council's, primary mission is support of, the XYZ stablecoin. What is it? So like, how are we going to best, go forth as a council? And what does the future of Telex look like? So I think we need those clarifying points, and then we can kind of know what our sort of mission statement is going forward.
That's good sentiment, Mike.
Yeah.
I think generally as well, we're a victim of where we are in the overall development and evolution of the ecosystem, because there is such a lot happening that's kind of fundamental to our mission, like the Telcoin network and the release of V5 and everything's sort of coming together. So I think in the next couple of months, we'll see a huge clarity emerging.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the second half of the year, we should be very relevant, but in order to be very relevant, we're still going to, we need to really get sort of our marching orders and come together as a council to figure out what our mission statement is, what our, touch points are, and where we be most effective in supporting the ecosystem. Or you just spin it off and become our own sort of crazy side crew. We don't really need the old days of tell liquidity are kind of maybe it's evolved. It's evolving quite a bit, and so we just want to be part of that regulated entity and know how to best support it.
Sorry, Derek's been very patient. He's been having his hand.
Yeah, go ahead, Derek. Sorry.
No, it's fine. You guys can finish that conversation. That's more important than mine. So, my only question was, this is probably a rhetorical question, but Ty, have we talked to Khalil about for the V4 pools on the website? It shows NA for the staked amount, like either fixing that or getting it gone.
Is this on the?
Here, I'll share
this-
my screen. Hold on one second.
Okay. I knew there was a problem with base, but I thought that was the subgraph. But I see on Telex all the V4 pools are showing NA. So I don't think specifically that point's been raised with Khalil. I just checked prior to the call to report back on the fact that the changes that I requested in terms of the fees being correct, when you hover over the fees graph, it's now correct, the value for fees anyway. So I know he's pushed some changes through, but I see what you're saying, Derek. Certainly raise that with Khalil. I knew there was a problem with base, but I didn't realize the polygon things were showing NA as well. So
Derek, or was this already on the list for Khalil, or is it?
I don't believe it was. If you can see my screen now, sorry. I don't believe it was, but it's these two sections, right? It's right here. It just is, I'm assuming, an issue with the subgraph not pulling the information correctly, but
yeah, I think the fact that it's come across all three is quite recent. As I said, I did recognize base was showing as NA, but I didn't realize all three were, but maybe I had just missed that, to be honest. So I can't say, but I'll follow up with Khalil and see if we can get that resolved.
Yeah, put it in Trello also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that up, Derek.
Yeah, no problem. I figured I think it's just a UI issue, but would be something worthwhile to look into.
I think the other thing that we need to talk about is the information that's coming out now from these analytics that V4 pools aren't getting their fair share of the hits for providing liquidity. V3 seems to be dominant.
Yeah, Derek. Derek, can you share that
let me pull it
screenshot
up.
I took yesterday?
Yep. Give me
so
one
we
second.
can discuss this because it's pertinent to the community.
Sure. Give me 30 seconds to grab it.
Sure.
The aggregator thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been having some internal discussions about aggregators, how effective they are. I think it all started last week when we was talking about how Kyber swap seems to be okay taking from V4 pools, and then we got some conflicting information back from other people. I think from Eric. So I've put together this piece of information, looking at all the major aggregators. Looking to see, just if you can see the second column there, we're referencing the pool type, and I wanted to know that I wanted to see on the V4 side, the ones with hooks or custom hooks, exactly what the percentage or estimated percentage of volume would be from each aggregator. And as you can see per aggregator, it's a very small amount. And probably what concerns me most is OX protocol being such a small value, less than 10%, as I believe OX is one of the two aggregators we use from the Telcoin wallet. So if people use the Telcoin wallet and they get redirected to OX, and OX only puts some information or some requests, swap request to the specific V4 pools, it means that what's that say? 90% will be going somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a problem.
yeah, we probably need to look into this in a little bit more detail and work out if we're only using V4 going forward, certainly for new pools, whether that's the best use of our time and resources, and what our other options are.
Well, it is kind of a problem if aggregators are failing to use V4 pools because they're handling a lot of volume. So yeah.
So I think that's another Trello card, because it is kind of fundamental to our mission, and we're not going to solve the problem today, but it's worth getting that on the radar for the future.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway from looking at that, as I say, they seem to be, it seems to be sorted by estimated percent of volume. It looks like in each case, the V3 pools are the ones that are most used.
Yeah, and don't forget that V4 is still not trusted all the way. It's pretty new still. So in time this also would probably be added, but right now it's too basically too early.
Well, I think one of the problems with the aggregators is that certainly with the custom hooks, they find it difficult to predict what the rates will be. So I think some of the advanced ones can do it, like Kyber swap, but other ones, they just want an easy, predictable swap amount that they can determine, really. That may be why they're avoiding V4.
Yeah, but I think it's also because of the hooks. It's when it's another risk that they put on, basically.
Yeah.
I think this point's worth raising with Parker and Paul as well, just so that the other way off the kind of playing field.
I have a question for you guys that have more technical abilities than I do. Obviously, we set V4 up so we could have the hook, so we could link it into Telex and whatnot. But this new relationship that we have with Baptiste and these pools, does it matter? I mean, couldn't we run like rewards? If we're running rewards, through Merkle, like, do we need a V4 hook, or can we just run V3 pools through Merkle and get more, and kind of let sort of Merkle sort out which way which liquidity situation works? Isn't that sort of the idea?
That's one of the ideas, but we still need a hook for the voting rights in terms of governance.
I don't know if that's entirely true. I think voting rights can be assigned with a different contract. It was to try to tie those in, but ownership of a pool has always been able to be like delegated for voting rights.
So the hook, Mike, to your point, the hook is primarily there to stop JIT behavior, not for voting.
Yeah.
That's there for it, right? So that's the whole 24-hour JIT determination. That was the whole real purpose of building it. So to answer your question, I think I would just suggest getting with Grant, or so you guys know who Chase is. He's the smart contract engineer for on the holding side. So I would suggest just that you guys should reach out to Chase and just say, hey Chase, what kind of implementations can we look at for the wallet, right, with these V4 pools, and can we be aligned on this moving forward? And just kind of, I think that's probably where I would start before reinventing the wheel.
Okay. That sounds good.
And that makes sense. It's if we don't need, I thought the hook was primarily for voting also, which
it serves a dual purpose.
It's not
You're
being
right.
used a lot for voting also, and I get it structurally, but if you can lose the hook, and I think Merkle, the system of Merkle, is going to be interesting the coming weeks when we have the test run. I don't think you need the hook, the whole time-based approach that you put in the hook to avoid jumping or changing or quick farming. I think Merkle eliminates that risk. So if that's the primary reason you got the hook next to staking, it might be interesting to see, especially if you look at the numbers and now from the aggregators not using V4. look, in the end, you
Yeah,
want
because
people
you kind of eliminate the need, Eric, for your NFT, right? Which is how you determine if you're subscribed or not, because Merkle handles that on their side.
Yeah. So well, again, it's to have a conversation like Mike said with holdings about the way we're going and the connections we can make with everything that holding may build the whole structure.
Hey, so our meeting with Paul, I got put one on, just chatted with him, and we're on for next Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour earlier than this current time, but if you guys can make it next Monday, I'll send out an invite to the Telex council members, but seemingly he's available next Monday. So
That would be awesome.
I'll give us heads up.
Because it's also the time we're in. It's not everything that's happening at holdings. I think if you look at not regarding market prices or anything, but if you take the AI sector and open cloud, everything that's happening over there, it's also affecting DeFi at the moment in a large scale. And you got a certain momentum that you wanna use, and the window is not going to be there forever. But I think you got amazing opportunities now to actually build an ecosystem on the Telcoin network, and make it awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So many opportunities. So,
Anything else to discuss on the aggregator side, or should we move on and review what to discuss?
Mike, did you say you had a meeting on Monday?
Yeah, I'm making a Google meeting invite for it now, and I'll send it to you guys. But Monday, next Monday, the 23rd, at 1 p.m. Eastern.
And it will be with Paul.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I also have to calculate to Europe.
Yeah, so that'll be what, 7 o'clock for you guys in UK? Or is you UK? Is that right? Or is that?
Yeah, 1 hour ahead.
Yeah, 1 hour earlier than whatever it is now.
Yeah, I'm in the real European Union.
Yeah.
My alarm clock.
Yeah, sorry, Ty. I know that's like not exactly ideal for New Zealand, but if you can't make it, we can cover it. We'll give you good highlights. So
I think you should just move, Ty, so we don't have to deal with this anymore.
Move back to Scotland.
No, he's in the only part of the world where there's no war, man. That's
funny.
No, but that was awesome to have us a call on Monday, Mike. Boo, is it okay for you?
Yep, should be fine.
Lovely. Oh wait, but it's 2 p.m. East. Wait a minute. Sorry, 2 p.m. Eastern. I think it's the same time as this. Wait, hold on, let me look. What did I do? Time zones. It's for 1 p.m. Central. Yeah, so 2 p.m. Eastern. So the exact same time as this call. So
Perfect.
No, this call's 3 p.m. Eastern.
oh yeah, so an hour earlier.
That's an hour earlier than this call.
Oh,
Yep, you had it right the first time, Mike.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
need like a master clock. That's what we need.
Yeah, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's what I said, isn't it? Oh yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, 2 p.m. Eastern. Perfect. Yeah.
Well,
Okay. What else we got to discuss? Any miscellaneous items, questions from the audience, or anything like that?
I'll say a comment. It does look like the TVL and activity in the pools, V4 pools, it's not jumping around a lot. It's a lot of the people that are securing those pools are still active and actively changing positions. I've been kind of tracking that, and I talked to Leo about this for you guys also. I know this is on my to-do list. I'm behind, but I have a administrative UI dashboard, kind of a stripped down version of what I showed you all, that will generate each week with the outputs. And it'll be for, like, if you have a community member that asks, well, I don't understand why I earn so much less than other people, it'll give a very rudimentary breakdown. So give you guys some tools to answer some of those questions, just based off of data that's provided in the reward script run. It just pulls all the blocks and all the activity that happened during the epoch. So pretty easy to do. I just have to do a PR and have Leo review it. So
Yeah, no, that'll be great, Derek. I'm looking forward to seeing that again.
yeah, it's not the whole blown graph, that I built out, which is doable, but this is just it's another Excel sheet that's meant to be like an admin sheet that'll go just to the council. It won't provide any like competitive advantage or anything else like that. It'll be like here's all the positions, and if like you have somebody that messages you and says, I don't understand why I earn so much less, you can like just type in their wallet address that they give you privately, and it'll pull it up in the Excel sheet, and it'll tell you, well, it's because you went out of range for 80% of the epoch, or you and everybody else, and you had 3 times less liquidity, and that's why you didn't earn as much. It just gives kind of like based on the positions and activity, it gives kind of, or yeah, you moved your position twice within 24 hours, so you were listed as an active, and then that's why you didn't earn any rewards. So it kind of will just like have all that there for people, and eventually, it's a start. And then when we do the web unification project, we can hopefully roll some of that into like the actual position dashboard that people can look at. That's kind of my plan. I'm working with Anderson on.
Yeah, great. I do have, if we're moving on to something else, I do have something that I want to just run by either Tim, who's joining us, hi Tim, or Dave, one of the compliance guys, is that when we're undertaking this work from Merkle, do we need a service or supply agreement just to cover all the compliance dots and T's, or I don't want to make it too difficult, but if we're meeting with Merkle tomorrow, then maybe that's something that we should mention rather than have it on as an informal basis. Do we need to formalize it? Should we need to formalize it? That's the question.
Yeah, the standard procedure should just always be for every third party, which is a service provider or vendor, wherein you are going to need to disclose some sort of confidential information. Always have an NDA in place ahead of time. In rare cases, you can sign an NDA after the conversation and just make it retroactive. There's a little bit of risk in doing that, so it's just better to have it ahead of time. Then you have the free discussions with them. And then if there's any situation where the entity is going to provide any services which are just not free, then you have to have an agreement in place. And you got to have it in there, then you can do all the necessary protections for the intellectual property and so forth. Also, even if some third party is doing some sort of service or interaction with the association or the TAO, and it is somehow accessing the intellectual property, then even if there's no consideration, then you need to have some license agreement with them. Because what you don't want to do is allow others to access the intellectual property with no right to do it, because that's a one way to lose all rights in your intellectual property, because you're basically saying we're making it free to anybody, because we have no restriction in when we gave it allowed access by this third party. So that in general is that sort of the overview of how you deal with vendors and other entities that you're going to deal with.
Great. I'm glad I asked the question, Tim. Thanks for that. So how do we implement this? Do the TAO have like a standard protocol, template to run through to make sure we're covering off all these bases, or do you help us, Tim?
No, well, I help you, but we do have standard templates. We have a standard NDA, and NDAs are pretty standardized. So ours is not over the top. It's easily digestible. It covers all bases. So there's usually never any pushback on it. We have a template. we're open to using another entity's template. So if they're like, no, we have to use our form, just send it over to me. If you have anybody you want to talk to where you got to give some confidential information, just email me. I'll give you the template. Actually, you can use that template with any entity going forward because it usually doesn't change. For the services agreement, then that would be the TAO entering into the services agreement for the Telcoin Association. And then usually it's like, a lot of times it's vendors that want to use their form, so you can just send that over to me. I'll take a quick look. And just all I need to know is, what are you expecting to get out of this situation? What do you, what's the other consideration, whether payment or whatever that's going to the vendor? And then I can just do a quick turnaround of that. So just make sure there's no real issues that could blow up. If there's some other sort of unique situation, sort of like storm partners, where there's, a lot of deliverables and so forth, then maybe we should have just a quick call so you can just help me understand what you're really trying to get out of it. And I can make sure that the agreement's structured so there's an obligation to deliver what you get. Because a lot of times what happens with vendors, especially when you get into sort of complex intellectual property and so forth, even on service vendors, is there's a tendency to sort of create the deliverables with sort of vague language. But hey, we had these discussions, and everybody kind of knows what we're looking for. But the document's created sort of vaguely. And so you get down like 3-4 months later and you're like, we're not getting what we expected and so forth. And then you get to the document and, it's hard to determine really what was the deliverable. And it puts you in a difficult position to try to leverage going forward and get what you need. So in those cases, if there's really those kinds of expectations, quick call. Otherwise, I just need to know, hey, we need them to do X, Y, and Z, and we're expecting to give them this, give them that. And then on the NDA thing, I can just give you our template. I'm fine with you guys just using that on your own, sending it out. But if they have any changes to our template or they want to use their document, send it over. And then also I got to get a copy of everything that's signed. And usually what we want to do is we want to have the other party sign first, and then we'll sign.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Is this a first time for the council, Ty, that we're doing third-party agreements like this?
It's not. It's
think
not. But I mean, for you guys specifically, probably with Merkel, right? Like, that is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we had the hook development, for instance, was done through Marcus and Telcoin Holdings, and so it was a lot more informal. But yes, for the Telex Council, this is the first time that we're actually dealing with an external vendor. That's why I kind of wanted to raise the question.
Good question. Yep, good question.
Yeah, definitely. Is Andrew aware of this already, or did he talk to Tim? Do we know?
Leo, I don't know if Andrew's talked to Tim. Leo is probably across it because we do obviously have a payment schedule that we want to embed in the service agreement, because the payments are going to be in 6 equal parts. I believe 6 monthly parts. So, development will be finished and the evaluation will be finished before we are finished paying for it. I think that's the part of the thing as well. So we do need to. So I think going into the meeting tomorrow, whoever's present and representing the council, then we do need to raise this point, and hopefully Leo will be there.
Yeah, I mean, for your meeting tomorrow, though, just speaking kind of off the cuff, unless there's just, if there's anything confidential, you just won't be able to discuss it because there's not an NDA signed. But otherwise, it's not like you have an MOU signed or anything else yet. But yeah, I mean, you should be okay, I would think.
Oh yeah, but it's good to formalize. The question is pretty good.
Absolutely, it's a very good question.
Formalize it in the end, so because we're paying them for services, and it's as simple as that.
100%.
So I see Tim's taking another call, but maybe we can get a copy of the NDA in the Slack channel, and at least then everybody's got access to it.
It should be on the share drive. It should be up there.
Yes.
If you don't have it, let me know because I have a copy of it.
Okay, thanks. I haven't searched for it.
I only have a copy because of the stuff that I did with the streaming services. So yeah,
Right.
I've got a copy for it. I've got a copy if you need it. Just let me know. But it should be on the share drive.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You sound like having a cold, Derek.
Yeah, I've been fighting this thing for 3 weeks. It's not been fun.
Is it COVID, Derek? Yeah, you mentioned
It started as that, but it like isn't anymore. Now it's just like it's a virus. I don't know. It's silly. It like goes away, then it comes back. It's the dumbest thing ever. It's super fun.
Yeah. Well, at your age, you've got to take care of yourself, mate.
Yeah. Well, tell that to my kids who keep bringing all this crap home from school. That'd be great.
Oh, I know. I've got it with my grandkids too. Anyway, okay.
All right. Well, I think we've done it. We've turned a one agenda item meeting into a 40-minute discussion. So congratulations, gentlemen. That was well done. And
it always depends on telex
Yeah.
to get nitty-gritty.
But once we get going, Mike, it's again, there's so much awesome things that we can do. It's just give it. If the direction is there, then yeah.
Well, let's get some clarity on direction on Monday. We'll go forth. Hopefully, we'll have the next council meeting. We can kind of start digging in and figuring out where we want to guide this ship. And I feel like we've just been stuck talking about V4 pools for like a year and a half, and it's getting a little long in the tooth. There's probably time to make some changes. If for no other reason, just to earn our promotions, I'm sure we're going to get promoted soon. So.
Promotion?
Oh yeah. Well, sorry, Ty. If you didn't get the email about the promotion, you're probably not eligible. But for the rest of us.
Okay. Well, I need a coffee. I'll be going back to my open class soon.
Yeah.
Might be DMing you, Derek, on this.
All right. Thanks,
Sounds
guys.
good.
If there's nothing else, we'll end here and we'll reconvene in 2 weeks.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Great.
guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Next time. Bye.